So we're at the machine ready to sew our dimensional pieces, and I am starting right at the point of the lotus petal that has the zipper. So I've already put my piece in place, and the one thing you want to be careful with when you're sewing the one close to your zipper is that little tiny piece of metal that's on the end of your zipper. You want to make sure you do not hit that. So make sure you backstitch, make sure you leave, your seam allowance, and let's begin. So as I come to my pin, I'm just going to make sure that I stop at that stitching where we had done earlier, the 1/2 inch stitching. I'm going to take my pin out, get right up to it, to the stitching, and go backwards. Alrighty. So I do not trim my thread in between. I come back and do that afterwards. So I'm spinning that around so that, and I'm going to have to take that pin out. Some of my pins have already come out. They actually got caught on my sweater. I'm going up to the stitching. Not sure if you can see, but I'm not going to go too far past that stitching, or when I turn my pillow with the right sides out, it will bunch up. And sometimes you have to trim a thread here and there, but we'll look at that at the end. So I'm right at the beginning of my stitching that we had done the little 1/2 inch stitching, and I'm going to start sewing. Make sure that you're back stitching. So I'm approaching my point, and I'm just going to go to about a seam's width to the end, and I am going to back stitch. If you go over, it's okay. My sweater is catching these pins, so several of my pins have come out. It's so cold here. We are actually snowed in Alabama. Okay, I'm approaching the other end of my zipper, if you can see where I am. So this is where we started, here at the let me show it to you. We started here on the other side of our zipper, and now we are coming to where the zipper pull is. So I'm going to go up to where the zipper is sewn in, and I probably need to push my zipper down. Alrighty, so I'm going to sew as close to my zipper teeth as I can, actually maybe even coming over my zipper teeth a little. Make sure you don't hit that little piece of metal on this. Alrighty. Okay. So that is one lotus petal completely sewn. So now I'm going to go to the next lotus petal, and I just circle around. I just start on the next logical one. So I started at the zipper all the way around, and now I'm coming to the next lotus petal. So once I get it in place, I will show you where I am. All right. So my seam is right here, about right in the middle of my foot. So I take my pin out, I'm going to bring my needle down, and I will have to back stitch to get to the little stitching where when we made the 1/2 inch stitches. I'm in between 2 lotus petals right now. Alrighty, so now I'm ready to sew toward the point of my lotus petal. So then I'm going to take my pin out at the end, make sure that my selvages or my serging stitches are lined up, making sure to leave a good seam allowance about to there. Coming to the end, so I'm going to back stitch. Alrighty, lifting my foot, spinning it around. So I'm ready to go down the other side. We're at a lotus, the tip of a lotus petal. Making sure that everything's lined up. My serged edges, they're all lined up. And I'll back stitch there too. Just don't get in a hurry. Make sure your things are lined up, and you can use more pins than I'm using. So as you get close, or as I get close to the end, I stop to make sure that nothing is under there that I don't need. I'm going to take my pin out, I'm actually going to have to take, I don't know if you can see it or not, I'm going to have to take this pin out too because it's getting in my way. I can repin it. So making sure that my point is right in the center of those stitches. And I'm going to back stitch. One more time. Okay. So remember, I don't trim my thread. You can if you want to. Most of my life I have sewn for profit, so I have just learned little tricks here and there that save time, like not using a zipper foot, not cutting my thread in between. So now that's really thick right there. If your machine will not go over some of these thick places, what you might have to do is, and I may have to do the same thing because that is really thick, but if it won't go over the thick places, then at the end you may have to take a needle and thread and sew in between your where your 2 lotus petals come together. I'm making sure that my pieces are lined up, and I will begin to sew. Let's see if mine will go over that, and it will not. So one other trick, and I'll show you. Let me go ahead and sew. If you get to a place like where your machine won't back stitch over that and you know it's going to leave a gap, I'll show you another trick. I'll get to the end and show you. Hold on. So at the end of this lotus petal, I'm going to back stitch. Okay, so I am going to trim my threads for this because I want to show you that little trick. So I'm going to take my fabric out, leave enough thread so that it doesn't come in threaded, and then I'm going to go back to where it wouldn't go over that hump, and I'm going to sew in the other direction. So sometimes I just flipped my pillow, and sometimes if it won't sew over it one way, if you lift your fabric up and go in the other direction, it might. So I'm going to try that. So I'm back where I was, and I think mine will go over this way. So I'm going to go to the edge there and back stitch. Very good. I'm going to do it one more time. and back stitch. All right, very good. So I will trim my thread so I can get back to the point. And remember, when you pull your thread out, make sure to pull it out far enough so that it doesn't unthread your needle, because there's not a whole lot more frustrating than having your needle come unthreaded every time. So I'm back at that point where I stopped, and this is the one with my handle. So I'll show you when I get to the handle what I'm going to do. I'm making sure that that both of my dimensional piece and my bottom piece is lined up. Back stitching there. And I'm going to loosen my tension just a little bit. All right, so I'm at my handle, and I have a pin going long ways. I'm going to change my pin to going straight up and down so I can at least have my pin in place so that when my foot comes over the hump that the handle makes, it won't slide it out of place. So I'm going to go up. I may have to give it a little tug here from behind. And I'm going to take my pin out now. I'm going to sew to the end of my handle, and then I'm going to back stitch. And I'm going to make sure there's nothing under there. I'm going to go forward again. And I'm actually going to back stitch again. And go forward. Alrighty, so I'm coming to the end there where my stitching is. Alrighty, so I lift my foot up and release my tension. So now I have two points or two petals sewn. So I'm going to come around to my next one. And see, some of these are where my pins had come out. So I'm going to have to repin this one. I have on a really big sweater and all my pins are catching it. Alrighty. So foot down. Start my needle there. This is another one that's really thick. I may have to go in the other direction. We'll see. And if your machine starts to act like it's not wanting to go, just give it a little tug. Sometimes that will help it. Alright, so I am ready to sew all the way down to my point, making sure everything's lined up. Up, turn it around, bring my foot down. Alright, ready to sew, get everything lined up. I'm going to back stitch. I don't remember if, yeah, I did back stitch. Alright, so I'm coming to an end here, or to the center of the lotus petal. I'm going to go ahead and take my pin out, get it lined up, make sure nothing else is under there, and I'll sew up to my stitching. Alrighty. Remember, I do not trim my threads. I'll have to take that pin out too. This is another very thick one, so if I have to go backwards, I will, or if I have to turn it around and sew from the other direction, I will. Make sure that you do the same. Remember that if your foot, your presser foot, will not go over the thickness of the fabrics in between the two lotus petals, just turn it around and sew in the other direction. All right, here we go. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to go back. Try to go back again. Going toward the end of my petal. And if you're like, I don't know if you can see or not, but my dimensional piece is a little bigger than my bottom piece. I'm just going to give it a little tug and poke, push that down, and it's just called easing it in, and that way my point stays in place. I would rather have my point stay in place and ease in that little bit of excess on my dimensional piece. Coming to the end, back stitching, and turning it around. We are almost finished with our third lotus petal. So foot down and make sure everything's lined up. Alrighty. Making sure everything's out from underneath as I approach the inside of the two lotus petals that are coming together. To our fourth one, I like to start at the center. This is another one that my pin had come out, so I'm just going to bring it open again, just like we did at the table. There's that stitching we made. I'm going to lay my point inside of there. Get your pillow stuffed, you won't know. Even if you have to take a little tuck here or there, you will not even notice it when your pillow is completed. So don't worry, it's okay. But you can see I had to ease that in, but you will not even notice when we get it all stuffed with our buckwheat hulls. So we're at the point of the fourth lotus petal. Having to ease this one in as well. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Bring the pin down. My pin out. So right to that stitching, right there where my nail is. Back stitch. This point, so I'm going to back stitch. Turning around, we're all this is our last seam on our fourth lotus petal. Here we go. I went a little too far. Alrighty, here we go. Ready to sew down on the other side of our point. And then this one also came in pinned, but I'm going to stretch apart let me show you. I will pull apart my two seams and lay my point of my dimensional piece right there in the middle and pin. Raise up my foot, make sure everything's lined up, lower my foot, and sew. Make sure everything's out of the way, so when I come to this part right in between the two lotus petals, I'm only sewing what I want to sew. Let me remove my pin. Alrighty. Foot up, turning it, going in the other direction. Oh wow, that is really thick. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim my threads and start sewing in the other direction. So I'm going to start sewing this way. You'll see I was sewing with the dimensional pieces on top, and I'm actually going to go the other direction because that is so thick. I just know my machine's not going to go over it going in that direction. So again, I think if I'm going in this direction with my foot, the curl on the front of my foot, I don't know if you can see how that curls upward. I think it'll go over it in that direction. So I've made sure that I only have underneath where I'm going to sew the fabric that I want to sew. I'm going to begin. My foot. If it's having a hard time, you can give it a little pull. To the point, so I'm going to back stitch and one more stitch, and we are ready to sew our final seam here. Okay, and it just so happens to be the thickest one that we're going to because it's that really thick fabric. So here we go. Put down, make sure everything's lined up nicely. And as we get close to those really thick seams, I'm going to make sure there's nothing under there that I don't want to sew on top of. Just pull it out and so I'm going to sew. My foot will go over this. I'm going to sew right up to it. Give it a little pull. And you can't pull too hard because if you do, your needle will break because it won't be going down into that hole. You'll pull it out of place. And this may very well be one that has to be stitched by hand, but when we turn the pillow, we'll look and see what we need to do by hand. All right, so I know you can't because I have such a tight, let's see if I can zoom out some. Yes. So now you can see that I have every one of my dimensional pieces sewn in. And I'm going to go back over to the table and trim all these loose threads, and then we will turn the pillow right sides out together because I want you to see that there are going to be stitches that I'm going to have to clip. There are going to be places in between the two lotus petals where I'm probably going to have to do some hand stitching with my upholstery thread, just because it is very, very difficult to get right in the center of those. Yet we want to make sure that this pillow is strong and will last for years. I think I might have told you at first, maybe I didn't tell you this. I was at a class in Nashville, a Kundalini class, and the teacher had a pillow, not like this one, but it was a buckwheat hulled filled pillow, and buckwheat was everywhere, and it had holes all in it. And she said that it really did that almost immediately after she bought it, and she paid a lot of money for it. So I do not want one of my pillows to, get a hole in it, have buckwheat holes coming out everywhere. So it's very important that I check for quality in every single stitch, and we'll do that together. Alrighty, so meet me over at the table, and we will finish this pillow up. Really, after we inspect it, the only thing left is filling it with buckwheat.